Hey viewers, and welcome to another episode of Reminiscences. This time we're in Maiduguri, the home of Alhaji Ali Ciroma. Many of you remember him as the former president of Nigeria Labour Congress between 1984 and 1988. But Comrade Ali Ciroma has been in the union movement since he was actually 17, which is nearly 73 years ago. He has been president of the Rural Health Workers of Nigeria since 1960, before it eventually became the Medical and Health Workers Association or Union, of which was deputy president, and then later on deputy president of the NLC by 1981. And the second president after Alhaji Hassan Somonu in 1984. This is a quick summary, but I'd like to go back and ask him about how life started here in Maiduguri, I believe, in school and at home in growing up.
Yeah. Life started here in Maiduguri, of course. Then I was born here in Hausari ward because my father was then the Lawan of Hausawa in Maiduguri. Although I'm Kanuri.
So Hausawa means you came from somewhere?
Hausawa, Kano people mostly. Yeah. Hausa migrants are in Hausari ward of Maiduguri. And my father was made the village head, the ward head of that ward. And then that was, we were roughly born in 1933. And then, of course, in Hausari, there was Alhaji Garba, Goni Garba, a Fulani man who was learned in Quran. And we were put in his tutelage in 1936 or 7. And after a brief period, then we moved to the elementary school. Then there was one elementary school in Maiduguri, the Central Elementary School, and we were moved there at about the age of 7 or 6. And we started the Western education from the elementary school. And after 4 years, of course, we moved to the middle school, which was a next door school at that time, just very near the elementary school. And we were supposed to be there for 5 years. That is, you finish middle 4 and that's the end of you. But before then, if you are lucky and get admission to Barewa College, then of course from middle 1, middle 2, up to 3, you can move to Barewa College.
It was then one of the only secondary schools in the region.
It was the only secondary school in the whole of the north.
But you didn't go to Barewa. Instead, you trained as a health worker, right?
Yes. As we finished the middle school, I applied to go to a health workers school in Mukodi then. That was in 1950.
Where was this?
1950.
In what place was this school? Is here in Maiduguri?
No, the school is in Makadi, in Makurdi.
Makurdi?
Yeah. That is a school for, either they call it Epidemic College. It was just a new school. After the Second World War, the British government sponsored some welfare packages for Nigeria. And they established about, I think, 10 different units, like this cinema, the mobile cinema was one of the departments. and with 9 others.
Okay, so this is a reward to us for helping them
I think so.
with the Second World War.
I think so.
Mm.
So ours was to fight epidemics.
Mm.
At that time,
So you went to Makadi from Maiduguri?
From Maiduguri, yes.
To train in that school?
Yes.
Mm. How strange was that for you, coming from the far north, so to say, to that part of the country?
It was strange, but then the whole north was regarded as one home, so we don't feel very much we are away from home. And there Nigerians are among us. Of course, at that time, there were very few educated northerners. Most departments, even our own school in Makadi, is made up of about over 60% were southerners, only about 30 or 40% were northerners. We were mixed up, Yorubas, Igbos, and all other Nigerians. That was where we did the initial training. And after that, we were posted to another training school in Kaduna this time, sleep and sickness medical laboratory, where laboratory examinations of all sorts are carried out. And then we were trained in the laboratory work. And then after 2 years, we passed out, and then we were posted to units. There were units in provinces at that time, and there was one in Maiduguri, number 3, medical field unit, taking care of rural health work in Borno State. I was there for about 3 or 4 years, and I was posted to Yaba Medical Laboratory Training School and did some training in mosquitoes and
this is
in mosquito
Lagos.
control in Lagos.
In Lagos.
Yes, that was in 1953 or 54. And after that, we came back to the north again and continued to, and posted to Birnin Kebbi in Western Sokoto, which is today Kebbi State. And there was a mass malaria control by World Health Organization and UNICEF. And then sponsored by UNICEF, supplied drugs and vehicles and equipment, and posted some malariologists and entomologists from the World Health Organization. And with then Nigerian staff, we established the malaria control unit in Birnin Kebbi. That lasted for about 10 years. We were spraying.
Were you in Kebbi for all those 10 years?
I was in Kebbi for about 6 years. In Kebbi for 6 years. From there, I was posted to Medical Auxiliary Training School in Kaduna. It was a new school. Our Mukurdi school is now upgraded and brought to Kaduna. And I was posted there. Well, it's supposed to be one of the lecturers.
So you moved from being a field worker, to teaching now?
To a teaching now.
Yes.
That was in 1959. And I was in Kaduna for up to in the school up to 1966, 67. When I became a senior officer at that time, I was posted out to the field. And I was posted back to Mukurdi again, to Birnin Kebbi again, to continue with malaria control. But this time, another unit was formed. There should be a superintendent going around the whole NA dispensaries, because that was part of the thing we did in Kaduna too. We were training NA dispensary assistants along with the government health workers. So I was in charge of all NA dispensaries in Gondu for about 1 year. Then I was posted to go and take over from rural medical officer in Ida, which is today in Kogi State, controlling yaws. There was a disease called yaws.
What is yours?
Yaws, which is a junior brother of leprosy, of syphilis.
Okay.
Syphilis, which is a sexual disease.
Yes.
But yours is not sexual, but is contacted through either by flies sitting on the sores of a sick man and then transferring the virus to a healthy man. That one too was WHO sponsored. We were issued drugs and vehicles, and we were controlling yours from mostly in the Middle Belt area and some parts of southern Nigeria. After that, of course, my final station was in Jalingo, which is present Taraba State, and controlling yours there with sleeping sickness unit also attached to my office. That was in 1978, 79. I was there until 1970. That was in 1968. Yeah. Then in 1970, I moved my headquarters from Jalingo to Mubi to take care of Goza area where yours was also prevalent. And, after a few years there, a medical auxiliary training school was established in Maiduguri. And as one of the former teachers in Kaduna, I was posted to inaugurate the school.
So you are made the kind of principal of the school?
Principal of the school. And I was there until I started more and more involvement in Nigerian unionism and became a national officer of the Medical and Health Workers Union, and then also an affiliate of the beginning with Nigeria Labour Congress as one of the 42 industrial unions attached to it. So there was a Borno State Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress. I became chairman of Borno State. From there, in 1981, of course, I was elected as deputy president of Nigeria Labour Congress to Mr. Sumono in Kano. That was in 1981. Then, of course, it is still a part-time. I used to attend meetings in Lagos very often, but then I was still with Borno State government. Not until 1984, when I succeeded Hassan Sumono, and then took leave without pay from Borno State government and moved to Lagos, where the NLC presidency is a full-time job at that time.
Now, one surprising thing to me anyway, why did you choose to go the trade union way rather than continue as a very senior civil servant? Already you are principal of a medical institution. What motivated you to leave
I don't know.
a comfortable civil service for the trade union?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe I think trade unionism or the feelings of trying to struggle and improve the condition of service of workers and spokesmen of the workers, I think these things were maybe born in me or something like that, I don't know.
Because you started at 17
yes.
as a trade unionist.
Yes.
I mean, in what form? You just become a ordinary
student? I'm a member of Medical Health Workers Union. Just a member.
Yeah.
In the training school in Makodi, there was a branch of the union in the school. So I first joined the union at the school unit. And from there, of course, as my training goes on and appointments were confirmed, we also joined the main union at that time. Then from, I've never looked back. From then on, I just continued. Always I mixed my union work with my trade union work with the government work I was doing. I've never left it.
So even when you became the president of the Rural Health Workers Union in 1960, there was no conflict with your civil service job you are doing?
There wasn't conflict, because the government recognized the unions. And of course, that was even British government. Even during British government, unions were recognized in Nigeria, and the government doesn't interfere with us, and so on. It was when we got independence that our people came to government, and then they started interfering with the unions. And of course, when the military came, they became, of course, dictatorship, and they were interfering with the unions. Otherwise, even the colonial government did not feel any bad about the existence of unions. They encouraged it. Yes.
So obviously, you, as you said, you became the president of the NLC just as the military were coming back. I think it was probably your
Buhari had just taken over.
Buhari had just come in.
Yes.
He became the president.
Yes.
How was that? Was that a problem for you as the leader of the workers to confront or to be there with a military regime?
It was, there was a problem, because I don't know how, but when the military took over, that was the problem I used to have with my international trade unions. When we go, international trade unions, they don't like military regime anywhere. And the contradiction is, but we, trade unions in Nigeria, when the military came, we supported it. In fact, the whole Nigeria, they jubilated and they welcomed the military.
So you supported the coup of '83 because you felt the civilian government was...
That was the coup of '83. And people, and NLC came out in support of the military takeover and offered to assist the military to stabilize the country and fight all those bad things, corruptions, and so on and so on. That was how we started with it. But then, Buhari, as he came, he didn't welcome us at once. He was there for 3 months, 6 months before I became the president. Before then, there was no contact between unions and the government. Okay, we said, okay, no problem. But after I was elected, then a letter was written to the NLC officially inviting us to meet Buhari. When we met, of course, Buhari gave his reason for not calling us earlier, because I complained. I said, when you came the president, you were calling political groups whom you took over government from, and because of the problems they created in the country. But even they, you call political groups, you are talking to them, but you have not talked to unions. And the unions should have been the first people, your right-hand men, to assist you. But he said, well, at that time he felt Sumonu was outgoing, and he felt it is better to allow Sumonu to go away, and then a new president installed, then before they start from a level playing ground. I said, well, thank you.
But how was your relationship with his government? He was known for his decrees against the media and other civil society organizations. Did it affect your relationship?
No. At the beginning, even Buhari continued, though they used to make draconian laws and very painful treatment of Nigerian workers, especially retrenchment. Buhari started, Shagari started not paying salaries. In some states, like Benue.
This was the days of austerity. I mean, we were under austerity measures.
Yes.
The government was running out of money.
Yes. And salaries, state governments were not paying salaries. Only federal government was paying salaries, of course. And then, according to Buhari, instead of keeping people and not paying them salaries, it's better they dismiss people. And for us unions, dismissal is even worse than not paying salaries. At least with, if you are not paying salaries, you still have a claim that your salaries were not paid, and you are negotiating with government, you want your salaries to be paid and so on. But dismissal, retrenchment from work is the most hated thing by unions. Because loss of job means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time. And that was the struggle we had with Buhari from the beginning. Retrenchment. Well, we were doing our best. We have not gone on strike, but we were making threats and so on. Although Buhari too was so tough at that time, you know, once he has made up his mind is always there. But honestly speaking, we hated politicians. The Second Republic, the MPN or whatever was the Shagari's government, nearly all Nigerians hated it. So we said, let's give Buhari a chance. Let's give him some time and see if there's anything he can make. And unfortunately, Buhari stayed for only 15 months or so. Babangida came. And when
So did Babangida charm you before finally he...
No. Right from the word go, unions do not accept Babangida. At least we wanted to give Buhari some chance and see what he can do. Because Buhari showed some honesty. You see, that was the difference. That was different with Babangida. Babangida's, when government came, the BBC, the following morning, I was in Togo for a meeting. When Kashim and Sumonu ran to my room and said, there was a coup d'etat in Maiduguri, in Nigeria. My first reaction was, I was not happy. I said, no, coup d'etats are not the things we want. We want whoever is there to stay and stabilize the country, but not every 2 years or 1 year, military overthrows itself and they install others and so on and so on. So we did not trust Babangida right from the word go. Unfortunately, I could not hide too much my fear for Babangida's regime.
Did he also call you like Buhari did for
Babangida, you know, Maradona, he will call. He calls everybody and he tries to woo everybody.
Yeah.
But we were not happy with him anyway. And then, because the BBC said, this is the first time a government is overthrown anywhere for refusing to take IMF loan. Because Buhari was against it.
So ideologically you felt closer to the Buhari?
Closer to Buhari, yeah. Then this man who came, and the Western governments have agreed that this man was brought in so as to take IMF. Because the Western powers, IMF and World Bank, they have strategies. They have planned their structural adjustment program for the world. They want all governments to run what do you call subsidy, subsidy-free economy. Nigerians must run a free economy where the capitalists will be allowed to run the country as they find fit. And Babangida accepted structural adjustment. And before then, we had experience of structural adjustment program in like Zambia, of course, Ghana, and many other places. And workers all over the world, they were against structural adjustment program.
Viewers, we will stop here to give Alhaji Ali Ciroma a brief rest before we continue in the second part of the program, where, as we are building up, you could see he has just become the president of the NLC, and the military has come back, especially the Babangida government, as he hinted, which is now much more liberal, and he has started policies that will eventually lead to a collision course between the NLC and the government. Join us in the second part of the program. Thank you. Come back to our second segment of Reminiscences with Alhaji Ali Ciroma, former president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. We stopped at the point where the Babangida government has come in and with policies that Labour considered, shall we say, anti-people. And so what did you do about it? How did you kind of react to the Babangida policies, structural adjustment program, IMF loan, and all that?
Of course, from the word go, we opposed all those measures. The withdrawal of subsidies includes all schools. Like the universities, we all know when the universities started, there was free food, everything was free, and the children would not pay the school fees, and so on and so on. But suddenly, Babangida came overnight and said, there's no free school, no food subsidy. Then we said, at that moment, people like Babangida, who are now ruling the country, couldn't have been even in a position to rule, because they had free education. They are sons of only ordinary people. Nobody knew Babangida's father up to the time he died. But that means schooling is now going to be only for the children of the elite. Because poor people from villages who used to come before, and when they come to like the middle school, there is a boarding school, we were supplied free food. And Talaka were enjoying.
So isn't it a fair argument that while this could be afforded when the numbers were small,
yes,
as the population of school children grew,
yes,
government could not really afford to pay free.
It's true. It's true. But well, there should have been more planning, consultations, and so on, so as to find a middle ground. Where are we going to assist? Okay, overnight, all hospitals became you must pay. There's no more free medical service. People pay for everything. And even today, there are many people who are outside, who are supposed to be in hospital to get treatment, but they cannot afford, and therefore hospitals do not give free treatment, so they stay outside. In fact, I have had my 7th surgery. Seventh surgery in the last 10 to 15 years. Just about 3 weeks ago in teaching hospital here in Maiduguri. And even I'm still recuperating. And I know how much it costs each time one goes into surgery. Although, well, we thank God.
Yes.
My family were helping.
Yes.
And old friends were helping.
Yes.
NLC, WABA was helping sometimes. Even old friend Adam Shamule was helping. And family members were helping. 7th times now I've gone under surgery. And that thing, and each time I go, I feel very bad about ordinary people. I feel very bad. So that was there. Then under structural IS program, there we all know the value of the Naira fell so much that when civil servants were given vehicle loans in the past, before the structural adjustment, of course, they give you about 1 year's salary, and with that you buy a brand new car. In 1966, when we became officers, we were given £1,000, which gave us a brand new car.
1966.
1966, yes. £1,000 they give you, which is today 2,000 naira, which cannot buy even a bicycle. Suddenly, after structural adjustment program and price changes, a new car became out of the question for civil servants. There was a time government was not even giving loan because the loan cannot buy you a car. Your 10 years salary cannot buy you a car. So there was a blockage for a few years until when somehow Igbos tried to bring in used cars and so on. Civil servants picked up, and of course, unfortunately, with corruption. Corruption became bigger, everybody was stealing. No, corruption wasn't
under Babangida.
Under Babangida.
But was it not an equal fight between you, NLC, and the military government? How did you fight the government when they had all the tanks on their side?
Well, we did our best. We did our best. People still think when they come there, tell me, your time is different from the present labor leadership.
Because you fought.
Yeah, people still say. And we still thought we could behave the trade union way, honestly, even at that time.
Which is the way? Which is the trade union way?
Well, trade union way, never to sell out to workers, never to betray workers' trust, never you go behind and get anything from anybody. Those things were not done.
Yeah.
But soon after us, when Babangida dissolved the NLC and allowed NLC to be established again under Bafyao, it was all Babangida's conditions that were fulfilled before the NLC came back. And then Pascal Bafyao period began to deal with Babangida as equal partners. And he was given all sorts of subventions by government. We were never having subventions before.
How did you hear about the proscription of the NLC? You are president when it was.
Yes.
dissolved. Can you tell us what happened in that period?
Yes. What happened was, when we were going for the 1988 election, all sorts of hurdles were put on our way by the government. One of them was the government infiltrated into some of our unions and make our unions go with government. They even agreed the government can dissolve the NLC. That was even part of the agreement. And so, and the presentation at the NLC conference is owing to the union's due payment to NLC. The much money you pay, the more delegation you get. And unfortunately, all those unions who wanted to break away, they were all debtor unions. They were not paying NLC their dues. And when it came to membership at the convention, they had no chance to stand against us. So what they could do is, the government gave them money to come and pay overnight into NLC accounts so as to raise their membership, and still it didn't help. So government said, okay, what you do is boycott the NLC meeting. Go and hold your own.
So they split the union?
Yes, they split the union. Our union members, they came to Benin also, where we are going to hold our own, and held their meeting a day earlier and elected their officers. So when government saw this, that was the thing which Abubakar Umar, then Minister for Labor, gave as reason to Nigerians under crocodile tears that NLC, which was meant to service all workers, is now split into two, fighting themselves. They are not prepared. Oh no. And therefore, government will not watch Nigerian workers to suffer from the leadership tussle of the leaders. And therefore, decree number 21 and 22 and so on, so are promulgated to abolish the NLC. Ali Ciroma and Dr. Osunde moved away from their offices.
So it was like a coup, really?
Oh yeah, it was a coup.
What happened to you after that announcement?
After that announcement, they asked us, by provided the laws, that we should come and hand over to the military administrator.
Sole administrator.
So that, and we refused to go and hand over. We sat at home because before we came back from Benin, the government has sent in troops to come and take over the NLC office, so that when we finished with Benin, we could not come to our office. There was already the administrator there with the police. So, okay, I was in railway guest house at that time. So I went back to the guest house and stayed. And called our unions to a meeting somewhere hidden. We said, okay, the government has taken over trade unions. What are our next line of action? Well, we are divided. I said, the workers should fight the government. You should even say, oh, you either withdraw from unions or we down tools. But unfortunately, all trade unions at that time, they say they could not afford to down tools because they were afraid that what had happened to me in NLC did not happen to the trade unions. The industrial unions were not affected. So that gave them, they don't want to risk any much more. They refused to follow me. Then I said, okay. They said we should go to court. I said, no court will entertain government decree. All courts, they cannot hear anybody taking government to court on any decree. That was well known. Father, you know it, but you just want to tell our people, you want us to play to the gallery. That we are fighting government, we are going to court. And I said, no, I'm not part of that, because this is a deceit. And it's true. They went to court, and the court said they have no powers to hear the case. I said, well, here you are.
So did you eventually just give up and return to Maiduguri? And
yeah, well, at that time, as there was a government administrator administering the NLC, and there was still a limbo, and there's still hope. One day maybe NLC will come back. For 1 year, I staggered around in Lagos and mobilizing things somehow, but the government made sure, Babangida made sure before he released the NLC, he has tied everything. He has made the union to Pascal to support the government. There's no question about that. So after 1 year, Pascal was elected. Then, of course, at that time, I withdrew from NLC, saying that, well, Pascal, go ahead. And so I retired, I came back. Of course, I was then a member of the governing body of the ILO in Geneva. Of course, I continued with my membership of the governing body for some years until my election period expired, before I finally came back to Nigeria and came to Maiduguri to stay.
Yeah. But I believe in 1989, Abacha brought you back to the trade union as administrator of Nupeng.
Yes.
I mean, was that a surprise to you that the same military now recall you back?
Well, what happened was, before then, Abacha has established Constitutional Conference Commission. Just before then, Constitutional Conference Commission. And Abacha asked NLC to nominate one of the officers into the 19-man commission. And Pascal Bafia, well, in his wisdom, he nominated me. And Bunu Sharif was the Minister of Labor at that time. And he sent Bunu Sharif to please tell me he has submitted my name to Abacha for a membership on the Electoral Commission. And I should accept it, please. Bunu Sharif came and told me. I said, okay, no problem. After all, the union for which I don't want affiliate with the government to is now working hand in hand with government. So there's no point in me refusing to serve under the Constitutional Conference. So I accepted. 19 of us, Justice Saidu Kawu was our chairman, and 18 of us, others, members of the commission, we invited documents from Nigerians as a whole to write a new constitution for Nigeria, and so on and so on. So I was doing that when Nupeng went on, Nupeng on the order of Nedoko went on strike and crippled petroleum supply to Nigeria. Of course, NLC, working with the government, did not back that strike. It's Nupeng affair. And so Abacha arrested Kokori the Secretary General of Nupeng with Secretary General of Pengasson, the Senior Staff Union, held them. And then dissolved the Pengasson and Nupeng. Now, to this time, was NLC2. They were all dissolved. It was when they were dissolved that the Minister of Labour, Obama, then proposed I should take over Nupeng. I should be the administrator for Nupeng. Well, I consulted some of trade union leaders and so on and so on. Well, we felt if the government has taken over Nupeng and they now want Nupeng to be released to a trade union leader, and the same thing, NLC2 is to be released to a trade union leader, Amir Gusau, the deputy governor of Sokoto at one time, who was also deputy president of NLC at another time. So we took over.
So you didn't feel any conflict in going back to that role after they have dismissed Kokori and others? You didn't feel as if you are betraying the labor tradition?
No, because in the first place, Kokori was trying to use Nupeng for Nedeko. It was a politics. It was politics, pure and simple. And so we felt Kokori has no right to sell union or to make union to fight for Nedeko. That was the first thing which gave us chance to try to see what can we do to help establish the trade union relationship, which was purely doing a trade union work and away from the politics of Nedeko. So we didn't feel much discomfort.
So when you are done with your trade union, and it's been a long life of unionism, you are back in Maiduguri. What do you do? What have you been up to all these years since you left, since about 1990?
As I said, I was not doing anything official, but I was trying to live my normal private life. I had my, when they started selling, shares of Nigerian companies, that was as far back as 1970s. I bought lots of shares from many companies. And when I left the NLC, my shares are in many companies, and I used to get dividends every year. And we were managing that. So that was how life was being made. And things were not very difficult at that time. Inflation wasn't bad. We were managing ourselves.
Do you think that made you a kind of comrade capitalist? Somebody would
well, I don't know.
In big companies?
I don't know. I don't know. I had this thing, and that helped me through life. You see, that had helped me greatly. I had even bought a house in Kaduna, and I was collecting some rent. I have a 4-bedroom, collecting some rent from tenants, and so on, just making life go ahead.
Yeah. You are never tempted to go into farming or
no farming? No, I've not gone into farming. I'm not going to. Is that shares that I shares at that time very good. It was very
What
good.
about now?
Well, I sold them all off. I sold them all off when I was trying to leave Maiduguri to go and live in Abuja or Kaduna or somewhere. I sold them all off. Now I don't have shares again.
You didn't like living in Maiduguri for some time? You were in Kaduna for quite a while?
Yes. In Maiduguri, I had, it's because of Boko Haram. In 2015, there was attack on the Maiduguri airport.
Yes.
And there was no flight from Maiduguri to outside Maiduguri anymore. All flights were grounded. And then, of course, at that time, I used to attend NLC meetings. So I find it very difficult to travel by road from Maiduguri to Abuja. And my union, Medical and Health Workers Union, have a hotel in Abuja. So they gave me a room to move to Abuja and stay there. That's how I first went to Abuja. And of course, at that time, my union has sponsored somebody to write my biography. And unfortunately, the guy I appointed was the former Secretary General of NLC.
John Oda?
John Oda. And he was given all the facilities to start writing. That was in 2015. And unfortunately, he could not do. He renegated. And that project stopped. And so my stay in Kaduna for about 1 or 2 years made me look for accommodation in Kaduna because Abuja was to get a house is very difficult, affordable house. But in Kaduna, I came and got one affordable and moved to Kaduna and then stayed in Kaduna. Because of the weather in Kaduna too, it's very excellent. It used to be, I used to get a lot of problem in hot season while in Maiduguri. But then, of course, for the past 6, 7 years or 8 years, I stayed in Kaduna very comfortably until this time around, because too much sickness is here and there. I said, well, let me go back home and face the rest of my life in Maiduguri.
Back here in Maiduguri, are you kind of involved in the community? Are you part of the Borno Elders Forum? You are an elder, obviously. Or is your ideology so different from?
I think Borno Elders Forum, people, somebody asked me from Abuja yesterday. He said he saw Borno Elders in the government house congratulating Kashim Shetima for being running mate of Tinubu, and also congratulating the president governor. He said, we saw somebody with a black. I said, no, I was not there. I was not told. Nobody invited me. Well, the present leadership of those who think they are elders of Borno, they were all very young people. For me, I do not regard them as elders of Borno because I am much senior to most of them. Most of them, and but they choose themselves to be elders, and they only contact themselves. But they are not interested in people like us. Although at one time, Kashim Shetima told me, they are afraid of you. Well, maybe so. I'm not part of Borno elders.
So how do you spend your day back in Maiduguri?
Well, doing nothing. Just now I can't even do anything much because I'm not well. I can't move. So I just stay here all day That's all. In the night, then I sleep. In the day, I sleep. Doing almost nothing.
But your health, how is your health now?
Well,
you've hinted at the surgeries, but you look, I mean, certainly you are very much alert. Mentally, you remember things.
Yes, I've had very good surgeons all the time.
Yeah.
First, I had spinal surgery in India, of course. That was some 14 years ago. Then I used to have prostate problem. I've had about 2 operations on prostate.
But you are 90, and yeah, so very few 90-year-olds sit for a 1-hour interview.
Yeah.
Finally, let me ask you about family life. How is family life for you?
Well, alhamdulillah, I have a large family. I have how much? About
16 or more?
15 children,
Yeah.
Yes. And the youngest even is almost 40 now.
The youngest.
The youngest.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I have a large family. And, my wife's number 1 died, number 2 died. Now the 3rd one is the one remaining with me, and whom I married a little later than those 2 who have died. So managing life for what it is.
I wish you, more years of service to this country. And viewers, I'd like you to join me to thank Alhaji Ali Ciroma for granting us this insight into his long life, and hope you'll be able to join us in another edition of Reminiscences. Thank you and goodbye.